All right, let's talk about this Dallas Cowboys offense, how they're going to go up against this 49ers defense. If you missed my last video, I previewed the other half of the ball, the San Francisco 49ers offense and the Cowboys defense. Definitely make sure you check that one out, although you don't have to watch that one to watch this one. So you can watch them out of order if you want to. But regardless, that one is available on his channel if you're interested. Anyways, let's just get into the video. So first, I want to talk about this chart. Again, maybe a little bit complicated. I think you guys can probably figure it out. Basically, the way it works is that, on the left, this is the Cowboys offense and where they rank in terms of PFF grade among these select categories. So for passing, they rank 6th best. For receiving, they rank 2nd best, so on and so forth. On the right, same thing, but just the defensive stuff. I formatted it this way to try to make it a little bit more clear as to, what they're going up against. So 49ers are 16th in coverage, for example. In fact, that coverage is probably one of the things that will just jump out at you right away as something that's a clear advantage for the Dallas Cowboys offense, where their passing attack has been very good. The receiving core has been great this season, second only behind actually San Francisco's in terms of PFF grades, and their pass blocking has been awesome. So even though for San Francisco they have the pass rush that you can maybe say, hey, they have that advantage going their way. The issue is that the Dallas Cowboys pass block really well. So it's kind of, basically neutralizing your biggest strength in that category for San Francisco. So that's, on paper, big win for Dallas. Now, in the running game, this is very different than the other side of the ball, whereas, San Francisco runs the ball very well. Dallas is only, okay at best at stopping the run. In this situation, you see that while Dallas is basically just as good at running the football, actually a little better than San Francisco is, because they have tied for #1 in run blocking. They're tied with San Francisco, but they run the football better than San Francisco. They have better backs. However, the counter is, well, San Francisco also stops the run very well. So that should be interesting to see about how well does Dallas do at running the football in this game. And I think one thing I really want to talk about is going to be just the X's and O's and what San Francisco, I assume, will do against Dallas, because again, we haven't seen these two teams play each other this year. However, I want to talk about this game because we have seen San Francisco go up against some pretty good receiving cores, including against Cincinnati, who I think is kind of a similar example to Dallas, and they have 3 really good receivers of their own. And we saw a lot of zone coverage in this game, which makes sense. You probably don't have the horses to go up and play man-on-man against Cincinnati. You also probably don't have the horses to play man-on-man against Dallas, so play a lot of zone. Makes things easier for you. And what you see is that there are zone busters you can run, like what Cincinnati is running here. Watch how when Burrow takes the snap, you're going to notice there is about to be a gap right there that you can make this throw. It's maybe not the most wide open throw in the world, but it's something that can get open. So that's what you're doing if you're Joe Burrow, and these are the kind of things that can be effective against zone coverage and can be effective against San Francisco. Watch, Burrow even does a little pump fake to get guys out of position. Good play by Burrow. Hey, Burrow's very good. That's not an argument for this video. That has nothing to do with that, but that's worth mentioning. I thought that was, a good example of something you can try and do to attack this team. I think that is something you probably should try and do. Also, something like this is another clear example. This is something that I want to see a lot of out of Dallas if you're going to win this football game. Run play actions. Play actions are key. And you might notice that if you did watch my last video, a lot of the strategies I talked about that San Francisco will do to the Dallas defense, I think Dallas should do to the 49ers defense. The question, though, is will they? But regardless, this is something I think that you can have success with, because the way the play works is it's a zone coverage play that San Francisco is in, but the idea is you run a play action. This gets linebackers to move in, and then you can throw over the top of them. That's the design of this play, and it can be very effective when teams are playing zone because they don't want to have to man up against you. Watch, you see the play action and you see that linebackers do get out of position. It's not even horrible defense right here, but you do see that I've circled one linebacker closer to the top of the screen. There is going to be a gap where you can make this throw. Burrow is going to make that throw, and they're able to pick up a first down on that play. That stuff will be open against San Francisco. Now, I'm not saying San Francisco is horrible at stopping that stuff. They're solid. Like I said, they're, PFF graded them as the 16th best coverage unit. So there's stuff to like about them. They're not elite either, so that's fascinating to me. However, this stat is also fascinating to me. The Cowboys run play action 13th most in the NFL, which seems like, okay, more than half. However, they pass the ball 6th most in the NFL. There is no way of sorting by percentage of plays you run play action on. Unfortunately, this is the best I could do. Maybe it exists somewhere. I couldn't find it. But it does make you realize a little bit that, okay, a little bit less percentage of their passes are play action compared to other teams. They throw the ball a lot, so that's why they still have a decent amount of play actions. But at least in terms of percentage of throws, they might not have quite as much play action. That's not necessarily the main way they try and beat zone coverage. They have other ideas of how to do it. So let's talk about those other ideas. Something like this, where this is simple. Basically what you're going to do is you're going up against zone coverage. It's quarters coverage that Washington is in. And this is a way you can beat zone coverage. Just a quick route, gets underneath the coverage, get in a gap in coverage. You get 5 yards right away, and maybe you can make a move and pick up even more. Watch, Prescott takes the snap. He does get rid of the football quickly, and they are able to pick up a first down there, just gain some yards, move the ball methodically down the field. This strategy has its pros and its cons. It's usually pretty effective at getting you yards down the field. There is the whole logic of you can't go broke making a profit. However, the flip side is if you have to run 12-play drives, eventually something's probably going to go wrong. Eventually someone's going to drop a pass. Eventually there will be a holding penalty, maybe an interception, a good defensive play, a sack. Something will derail the drive. So it's just more difficult than if you can get chunk plays. So I don't hate doing this, but I want to see Dallas open up the playbook a little bit and not just do that. Like something like this, I think, is actually a great example of what I think Dallas should do a little bit more of. So first thing you might notice is that a defensive lineman did jump off sides. So this is the free play, but however, it's still a concept that can work against this coverage, and that's the main reason I want to talk about it, because it's quarters coverage once again, but you're sending essentially 3 players on one side of the field further deep, and you just have a numbers advantage. Even if a Washington player reads this, it'll probably be a linebacker or safety who's reading it, and now you have a receiver going up against a linebacker or a safety, and that's still a mismatch. So these kind of concepts I like, and especially against zone coverage, which you have a pretty good idea of knowing can happen, this is what you want to do. This is the way to attack your opposing defense. Watch how right when this play begins, you're going to see that there is a gap right there. This play worked. So this is something that McCarthy will do a decent amount. I think he prefers more of a methodical approach, but he's not afraid to take a shot here and there. Look, Prescott makes the throw, you're able to pick up a big chunk play. So there's ways you can do this stuff. Although I would say this isn't exactly the way Dallas is necessarily entirely built. They kind of do like to go up against man a little bit more and kind of just let their receivers who are talented do their thing. Whereas here in zone coverage, you have to be a little bit more scheme oriented. And I think we can agree McCarthy surprised a lot of people this year. He still isn't Kyle Shanahan in that regard. Maybe we can all agree. I would say that, though. So, all right, final score predictions. Here we go. Dallas scores this season 2.49 points per drive on the year. San Francisco gives up 2.01 points per drive on the year. My prediction is that Dallas will score 2.4 points per drive in a 10-drive game this season, which would be 24 points. And if you saw my last video, I predicted the 49ers to have 28 points this game, which means that I have the 49ers upsetting the Dallas Cowboys and winning this one 28-24. So sorry, Cowboys fans, but just listen to the logic of why I have this the way it is. I do actually think that if you told me, pound for pound, talent for talent, which is the more talented team, I do think I lean towards Dallas here. However, I think that just given the matchups, both teams are going to essentially be trying to do the same thing on offense. Both teams are going to try to establish the run some play actions, and run zone busters. I think the difference is that San Francisco's better built to do that than Dallas is. Dallas, what makes their offense so incredible is they have, so much talent in the receiving game, and they do have very talented halfbacks, but I think that the difference is the Shanahan scheme is literally built to beat the kind of defense they're probably going to go up against, whereas the McCarthy scheme is not built to do that. So I think it's a scheme thing, and I'm going to pick scheme over talent here. Maybe you'll pick the talent over the scheme, because I do think this game could go either way. But that's my logic. That's why I have the 49ers winning this one. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Who do you have winning this football game? What's your final score? And do you agree with my logic that the scheme does favor San Francisco in a pretty heavy way? Or do you think, hey, scheme can only get you so far, talent's going to win out? But I also do think the 49ers are very talented as well. So, yeah. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.